Thanksgiving at my mother's house has always followed a script. Michael arrives late enough to be noticed. Jake arrives early enough to attach himself to Michael. I arrive on time and help carry dishes from the kitchen. This year was no different. Michael stood at the head of the table, describing his latest funding round, using phrases like strategic acceleration and category dominance. Jake nodded along as if he'd personally coded the product. I carved turkey. At some point, the conversation drifted toward expansion. Someone asked whether Michael was considering new partners. He laughed. I'm careful about who I bring in. Jake glanced at me. Yeah, you can't just let anyone in. I kept my eyes on my plate. Michael sipped his wine and said it lightly, almost playfully. You're too poor to be a business partner anyway. A few people chuckled. Not cruelly, reflexively. Jake added, stick to your warehouse job, every team needs someone who can lift boxes. It was the kind of joke that works because it contains an old truth. I did work in a warehouse through my 20s. I never corrected the narrative when things changed. I preferred watching from the side. I took a bite of sweet potatoes and nodded as if they'd made a reasonable point. The thing about long-term silence is that people begin to mistake it for limitation. Years ago, when Michael's startup was still an idea scribbled on whiteboards, he came to me privately. He didn't ask for money outright. He asked for belief. I had both. I'd built my capital quietly, early investments, patient holds, partnerships where I stayed invisible by design. When I invested in Michael's company, I did it through my portfolio structure, not my name. He knew the fund existed. He never cared who the principal was. He assumed it wasn't me. At dinner, listening to him define success out loud, I realized something uncomfortable. I had told myself I stayed quiet to protect family harmony. In reality, I avoided the friction of being seen differently. After dessert, Michael clapped me on the shoulder. Seriously though, you doing okay over there? I'm fine, I said. And I meant it. The next morning, I woke early, not angry. Clear. Resentment is heavy when it sits unexamined. Lighter when it's acknowledged. I called Daniel, my portfolio manager. Morning, he said. Everything all right? Yes, I replied. I'd like to withdraw our full position from Michael's company. There was a pause. Paper shuffling. That's a significant percentage, he said carefully. You're sure? Yes. No speech about disrespect. No dramatic backstory. Just a reallocation of capital. Daniel outlined the mechanics. Notice periods. Board notification requirements. Liquidity triggers. We both understood what would happen next. When you hold a large minority position, withdrawal isn't private. It sets off alarms. By noon, the first emergency board call was scheduled. By 1, my phone started vibrating. I let it ring twice before answering. What did you do? Michael asked. I adjusted my portfolio. You pulled $94 million. Wes. Silence. Breathing on the other end. You're going to destabilize the next round, he said. Do you understand that? I do. Why? The question was less angry now, more confused. I chose my words slowly. Partnership requires mutual respect. If I don't qualify for the first, I'm not obligated to provide the second. He exhaled sharply. This is about a joke. It's about a pattern. Another silence, longer. You never told me it was you, he said finally. You never asked. That wasn't meant to be clever. It was simply true. Over the next week, the consequences unfolded predictably. Emergency investor meetings. Revised projections. A bridge round negotiated under tighter terms. The company didn't collapse. It adjusted. Power rarely explodes, it recalibrates. Family reaction came in fragments. My mother called, worried but vague. Jake sent a text suggesting I'd gone too far. No one referenced the dinner directly. They focused on the financial ripple, not the words that preceded it. Michael and I met once in his office. He looked tired. You could have warned me, he said. I could have, I agreed. And you didn't. No. He studied me like he was seeing an unfamiliar version. Maybe he was. I always thought you didn't care about this world, he said. I cared, I replied. I just didn't need it to validate me. He leaned back, absorbing that we didn't reconcile. Not fully. Something foundational had shifted. Not broken beyond repair, but cracked in a way that would always show under certain light. Driving home, I questioned myself more than once. Had I acted out of principle or accumulated resentment? Was there a cleaner way to draw the line? Possibly. But I also recognized a quieter truth. For years, I allowed the narrative of less than to circulate because correcting it felt uncomfortable. Silence protected me from confrontation, but it also permitted dismissal. Withdrawing the investment wasn't revenge. It was alignment. My capital would no longer sit where my dignity didn't. The company survived. So did we, in a strained, formal way. At the next family gathering, no one joked about my job. They asked different questions instead. And this time, I answered them.